o'clock? 10 o'clock we can start. Arpan?
Yes, sir.
Manas sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to the distinguished chief guest, the faculty, all the participants. I am Arpan Malik, the PR head for the VIT Bhopal Model United Nations community. It is an honor for me to welcome you all to the commencement ceremony of VITB MUN's online parliamentary debate, Rajneet. To give a little background about our club, VITB MUN was established in 2018 by our seniors and is now a community of more than 800 people. Since then, we have taken great initiatives to provide our students and participants with the highest quality parliamentary debates and the MUN events. VITB MUN has hosted outstanding events ranging from the offline MUN to the first parliamentary debate named Sansad in 2020. When our seniors handed us the reins of the club, we all knew that this wasn't going to be just another MUN. We got together and started brainstorming ideas on how we could organize an event that would pique the interest of the students that had been sitting at home for almost 2 years and were tired of sitting in front of their screens all day, attending online classes. While we couldn't organize an offline event, we can say with certainty that all our participants will engage in heated debates on issues of national importance and will take away something positive from the event. One of our main aims as a club was to encourage students to take part in events that build public speaking and confidence building communication skills. Since then, a number of students have participated in our events and are now much more confident and have overcome their fears of speaking in public. With Rajneet, we plan to find a middle ground between the intricacies of the procedure of the Lok Sabha and conventional rules of procedure of a model UN conference to ensure a fruitful debate and enriching simulation. This event is the first of its kind, as we have integrated the best of both worlds by including topics that are usually discussed in the Lok Sabha while maintaining the rules of procedure of a conventional MUN. With Rajneet, we want to give our MUN enthusiasts a platform to debate, discuss, and deliberate on issues of national importance. With Rajneet, we aim to take our club to new levels of success. We are proud to inform you that we have 111 participants across 4 different committees and that there are several participants from universities across the country. We will now have the Secretary General of VITB MUN Club, Stuti Mishra, address everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning, Honorable Chief Guest Sir, respected Dean, Faculty Coordinator, and my dear delegates. I take deep pride in being a member of an organization that not only stimulated global issues and modeled the challenges of real life, but also inspired greater awareness and excitement in the generation of global leaders. Model United Nation today trains today's students to tomorrow's leaders. Students who do Model MUN today would one day certainly change the world for the better. We at VITB MUN recognize the importance of understanding and the exchange in overcoming cultural barriers. I now possess a strong sense of activism and seek to be engaged in Indian and as well as being a global citizen. However, to understand how important diplomatic discourse is, let's change the train of thought for a second. Think of humanity before all of this, before internet, before wars, before countries. Humanity sat beside the flame and watched the stars afloat across the sky, wondering what would lead them forward. What, what was it that led them to today, that led them to greatness, to civilization? It was language. It was the ability to speak clearly and communicate effectively that led us where we are. Communication is what separates us. And what is diplomatic discourse but most effective form of language? Hence, all of us today have gathered here to commence the starting ceremony of Rajneet. Over to you, Arpan.
Thank you, Suti. We will now have the welcome address by the Dean of Academics of VIT Bhopal, Mr. Manas Kumar Mishra.
Thank you, Arpan. I think I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Good morning,
Sorry, your
everyone.
video is
I'm,
not
so-
on.
I'm sorry, there is some technical glitch. My camera
Okay.
is not
Okay.
functioning. I'm extremely sorry for that. Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. Surinder Singh, the former DGP of Madhya Pradesh. It's great to have you here today, sir. I hope the entire audience will be immensely benefited by your presence. Uh, Dr. Sarvanan, the faculty coordinator, my dear students, and all the enthusiastic participants of this particular event. I welcome all of you on behalf of VIT Bhopal for taking out your time and participating in an event where the enthusiasm actually is the key for the budding leaders to, stake claim of their opinion, try to validate with some sort of a data and observations. Just to appraise you, appraise the chief guest and other members. VIT Bhopal is a campus of a group of institutes which is popularly known as Bangalore Institute of Technology, founded by our chairman, Chancellor Dr. G. Viswanathan. This campus started in 2017, and we are now housing close to 7,500 plus students across 23 different programs. And we try to uh, have a lot of MOU and partnership with various industries so that we can offer the industry ready programs to the student and also provide a lot of platform. VIT, uh, this MUN is also one of them. We have got some 50 odd student clubs mentored by faculties and being the whole activities is being spearheaded by the students themselves. This gives them a platform where they can have a holistic development about their personality and leadership qualities. Now coming to this particular event, MUN, as Shruti has pointed out, gives us a good platform to showcase our leadership skills to and also to advocate the opinions we have. A platform where the student, primarily, I'm more keen on their individual opinions because I personally believe down the line when they will become the future leaders, it differentiates a great leader from a normal leader or any other person is on the conviction and which I have an opinion, and that opinion is going to have an en masse effect on the betterment of the society and the mankind as a whole. And these kind of events actually make the student to analyze the social requirements, social needs, and to identify what as a future leader we are able to promote and support the community to come up with a solution which can be uh, which is envisioned to be implemented down the line for a better India. So, as our honorable chancellor says, that let India rule the world and VIT rule India. On that note, I congratulate all of you for your participation and hope that in the next 2 days you will be debating a lot and debating in an enthusiastic leadership so that you come back with some sort of a solution, and that solution will be making the whole community to have a better life. With that, I welcome all of you once again and thank you for having me here today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are honored to have with us today Mr. Surendra Singh, a 1980 batch IPS officer and the 27th Director General of Police of Madhya Pradesh. To give you a little background about our chief guest today, he was born in 1956 in Gwalior and went on to pursue a Master in Science from Jivaji University Gwalior and a Diploma in Management from IGNOU. He has had a stellar career with the Indian Police Service, which he first joined in 1980. He was the additional SP of Raipur and Raigarh, and then the Superintendent of Police for Mandla, Morena, Durg, and Bhopal. He was appointed as SP of Bhopal after communal riots broke out in the city in December 1992 and held a position of great responsibility. He was appointed as the additional DGP for Fire Services, Law and Order, Intelligence, SAF, and Administration. After serving as the DG of Prisons in Madhya Pradesh, he was appointed as the Director General of Police from Madhya Pradesh from October 2014 till June 2016. During his prestigious career, he was decorated with the Indian Police Medal for Meritorious Service in 1994 and the President's Police Medal for Distinguished Service in 2001. Sir, we are honored and delighted to have you here with us today.
Good morning, everybody. It gives me
Good morning, sir.
immense pleasure to be amongst the younger generation of the country. Dr. Manas Mishra, Dr. Sarvanan, Ms. Arpana, Mr. Arpana, Ms. Stuti, and all the dear delegates. When I received this invitation from Dr. Sarvanan about joining this online seminar, I was in a fix because having been in police for 36 years, I have had very little to do with academics. Though I tried continuing my some hobbies of reading and all, but I must confess that I was totally divorced from academics during my service, like any other policeman. I would like to share a few points with you. What I could gather from the net about this Model UN program, that there are various topics which they are supposed to be discussing. I have not been able to find out from whatever my earlier speakers have spoken about what all points are you going to cover, or are you going to cover all the points during this 2-day discussion. But one thing is certain, that the younger generation, the young minds with fresh ideas and a zeal to change, they would be pooling together their faculty and then try to discuss things which have far-reaching consequences, not only for our country, but maybe even globally. We have always been hearing that the youngsters normally do not take interest in what is happening around, other from their academic institutions or their own career which they are trying to pursue. In that sense, or in that context, I think this is a very, very happy trend and a welcome move on behalf of VIT. Because my personal feeling is that educational institutions, the academic courses, give you a platform to launch yourself in the world. They do not make you fit enough to be called a good citizen or an effective citizen or a citizen who contributes to the welfare of the society or to the welfare of the country. And the result is that despite having such a large intellectual pool in this country, we find very few of them contributing to the actual governance in the country. And then we keep on complaining that our politicians are illiterate, our politicians are selfish, our politicians have criminal tendencies. But then who is to be blamed? The blame lies squarely on us because we have never tried to contribute. We have always thought that politics is not our domain, and politics is it's a exclusive field for the politicians whom we look down upon. We don't actually hold many of them in high esteem. So we have to actually, contribute to the governance because we are a part of a democratic country. And our own constitution, if you go through the constitution, the very preamble of the constitution says, "We the people of India." And then so we promise to make our country like this, and then give ourselves this constitution. So the ultimate power or the rests with the people of India. Now, if the people of India think that their job towards democracy is only once in 5 years, when they go and exercise their right to franchise and then elect a government. But we have to take care and we have to consider that the governments in our style of democracy are not exactly because we have a first past the goal past mechanism in our democracy. So whosoever who gets the highest number of votes in a constituency is elected. No, at very few times we have found political parties getting more than 42% votes running the country. What does it mean? It means that more than 50% people, they were actually not in support of the policies of the party. So how do these people contribute? How do these people contribute to the governance of the country, the policy making? That is through public debate, through expressing their opinion. You must have seen that whenever a typical legislation is coming in the parliament, or I'm not sure about the legislature, but certainly in parliament, normally a notice is put up in the newspapers, wherein they ask comment from the general public also. What is required is that the enlightened youth, they should also try to contribute and give their contributions in the their opinion in the framing of such legislations. Otherwise, what will happen is that what exactly happened with this farmers' law. So we have to participate. We have to participate in the governance because another thing which I think the youth should take care of is the fact that democracy is not simply holding of elections every 5 years. Democracy is, besides holding the elections, it is creation and establishment of independent institutions, ensuring that everybody has got the dignity of a human being. Everybody's voice is heard. Agreed that in democracy, majority will have its say, but the minority's view will also have to be respected. The institution's sanctity has to be preserved, their independence has to be preserved. And that is where the common people and the youth and the enlightened people have a very vital role to play. Whatever you are discussing today, I think if I'm not right, I would request Dr. Sarvanan or maybe the coordinator, Ms. Stuti, to intervene in between. The actual thing is, which I saw was that first is that LGBT rights, second is freedom of expression in Indian context, farmers bill, and human rights and terrorism. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
These are the four
Yes, sir.
topics.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
These are the four topics which we are supposed to be discussing. Now, as far as topic number 1 is concerned, LGBT right, it's good. It's good that the criminality as far as the LGBT thing was concerned has been done away with. But what about the affirmative action? You have to think of the affirmative actions which have to be put in place so that this type of persons, they get their legitimate right in the society. You must have read that very recently Madhya Pradesh police has permitted a constable to change her sex, which is I would say is a revolutionary step, because till now, if these things were they were always seen with a stigma, and then either the employer would throw them off, or they will see to it that they leave the place. So all these things, the affirmative action, so as to make their life meaningful, has to be there. Now the most important thing is freedom of expression, and that too especially in the Indian context. You must have been reading newspapers and things, going around, especially, about the Pegasus software, the right to privacy in general, and the right to, not only right to privacy, but right to profess or to practice a particular religion. There's a lot of things going on in the country about what should be the procedure for interfaith marriages. And lots of people are being put to inconvenience. All these things need to be discussed. Then what about the freedom of expression? Is okay. If you go through the Indian Penal Code, we have many sections of Indian Penal Code which penalize the expression which actually hurts others, expressions which cause animosity between groups, which cause religious hurt. Now all these things, they are required in a pluralistic society like India. We cannot say that all these things are not required, because people have different faiths, people have different beliefs, they have different languages, and if one is allowed to actually express a very offensive opinion about someone else, then it will lead to a lot of chaos in the country. But the point is that all this has to be used, all these provisions of laws have to be used objectively. There have to be riders. The society has to ensure that there are riders. And the biggest thing is that whatever action the executive takes, there has to be bona fide in that. There cannot be any place for maligned actions. And whatever, I have no hesitation in saying, despite the fact that I have been in the police service for 36 years, I headed the state police, but many times we find that the actions are not bona fide. Because then it creates a sort of alienation in the society. We are here not to alienate people, but to unite them. Because if there is a alienation from system, then what exactly comes is the last thing. Terrorism. What exactly is terrorism? That is actually the alienation from the system. They start disbelieving this system. No, they may have a genuine demand, they may not have a genuine demand. That is for the people at large to decide. But then we should not, nurture the sense of alienation in sections of society. And for that, I think this freedom of expression, there has to be a rider. In fact, in the constitution itself, there are riders. And all the riders, they have to be used in a bona fide manner. There are procedures laid down in the Indian Telegraph Act about how to intercept anybody's telephone call. What procedure is to be followed, under what circumstances it can be intercepted. But it should be used in a bona fide manner, which cannot be used for nullified intentions. It cannot be used for the selfish interests of certain individuals. Then comes the question of human rights and terrorism. Human rights, I don't have to emphasize time and again that whatever we are human beings. And unless we ensure our own dignity, I don't see any prospect of further prospering. The prosperity of the human beings, it has taken place only because the human rights were respected, which allowed each and every individual to bloom into whatever they actually wanted to do, or actually they wanted to tell the world. But then there has to be a balance between human rights and the rights of the terrorists. Again, it's a question of big debate. Individuals' opinions differ. Especially recently, the incident in Nagaland, where the issue of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act has again surfaced. That whether it should be used or not, we should never lose sight of the fact that extraordinary situations demand extraordinary solutions. I think you would always agree in our own life, in personal life, we see that whenever there is an extraordinary situation, it requires an extraordinary solution. But then again, the question is the question of balance. You must have heard, I don't know, many of you that must have been fairly young at that time, or maybe not even born. Immediately after 9/11, lots of people were apprehended and put in Guantanamo. If you actually read about what all was happening in Guantanamo, then there were two schools of thought. Some people said no, it was necessary because people did not even know who all is there, whether they are being treated like as per the law and all. That cannot be allowed. You see, in our own constitution, it is very clearly mentioned that nobody can be, deprived of life or his right to freedom without due course of law. Nobody can be, held accountable by a law which was not in force at the time of commission of the incident. So those basic points have to be kept in mind when we are acting against terrorists. If the counter-terrorist operations, they start following the same rules of game which the terrorists are following, then what is the difference between the establishment and the terrorists? So there has to be some difference. And what exactly I wanted to tell was that the biggest problem which you should be deliberating upon is that we have to have a very good grievance redressal system in the country. The grievance redressal need not be an individual's grievance about, another individual. It has to be a grievance about the injustice being done by the system or injustice being done by another individual. We have to have a faster and effective judicial system. We have to improve on our delivery services. Many of you who would have gone abroad, what exactly we are actually impressed by. Because now we have very good infrastructure in our own country. Earlier on, which where people of earlier generations were going abroad to West, they were impressed by their buildings, their roads, and their transportation and all those things. But now that is not the issue. We have in our own backyard, the almost similar, if not as as advanced, but a similar type of infrastructure. But what exactly makes difference is the delivery system. How the service providers are treating, right from the relationship between consumer and shopkeeper to a person and the municipal corporation, or the person and the government, or a person and the educational institution, this type of thing, or a person between two persons. Is there interaction taking place according to the laws of human rights? Are they ensuring each other's dignity? All those things, they have to be considered. And whatever you discuss, whatever is being discussed, I think in the coming 2 days, the focus or the center has to be the individual. People say that we cannot be a highly individualistic society. But the individual's dignity, in my opinion, ensures the dignity of the society. They are not divorced from each other. I am deliberately not talking anything about farmers' bill, because it has been taken back and there are discussions that there will be consensus before bringing it and all. There's a need to bring consensus. Both the sides, they have to see what is good and what is bad. Because most of the time, I would say that whatever is the issue, most of the time things are not completely white or black. One has to operate in the gray area. That's what I said, you have to balance between things. It is the gray area which is really important in any issue. And the policy, exactly the framing of policy or the opinion about the policy should be based upon how we should, pass through this gray area. Because that is where the question of bona fide, mala fide, and misuse, abuse, all these things come in that, the gray area. And there has to be gray area, because ultimately we are governing human beings. Otherwise, a computer would have controlled the entire society with a fixed input, a fixed output. I am hopeful that in the next coming 2 days, you will have a fairly good discussion, a fruitful discussion. And the most important thing which would be achieved is that you, the delegates, would be able to develop your art or your science of putting things forward, logical reasoning, discussing, and respecting other fellows' point. Because what is important is not exactly what is right or what is wrong. What is important is that whether we are able to respect each other's view and then try to come to a conclusion. We are not here to win an argument. It is not a debate where A wins and B loses, or B wins and A loses. It's a question of trying to come to what exactly is the problem, how exactly to come across it. I wish all the best, and I once again congratulate VIT and the delegates for this seminar, especially the organizers and the young coordinators who have taken the initiative. And I wish the discussion a grand success, and wish you all a grand success in your career. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words of wisdom. I think you have some very insightful thoughts and you've definitely inspired us. Saravanan sir, would you like to say anything?
Sir, although I'm a faculty coordinator for this MUN club, but then like many of the initiatives are taken by the students, and they are doing for the students, and they are doing everything themselves. And I am only like kind of guiding them, and otherwise like they are taking all the efforts. So I am here to like give vote of thanks as well. Respected chief guest, Mr. Surendra Singh, former Director General of Police, Madhya Pradesh, respected Dean Academics of VIT Bhopal, Dr. Manas Kumar Mishra, sir. Um, Good morning to one and all. I feel honored and privileged to organize this event as Rajneet under the banner of VIT Bhopal Immune Club of VIT Bhopal University. I would like to thank all 111 participants from different universities from across the country for showing interest and to come here to attend VIT Bhopal Immune's second parliamentary debate. Whether it is in the form of academic success or hosting fruitful events, VIT Bhopal has served as an epitome of success. First of all, I would like to place my special thanks to our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. G. Vishwanathan sir, for his visionary leadership. We are pleased to work under him. I also take this opportunity to convey my heartfelt gratitude to our Vice President, Mr. Shankar Vishwanathan sir, for the continuous support and encouragement. I also would like to thank Assistant Vice President Kadambari S. Vishwanathan ma'am for continuous support. We would also like to thank our Chancellor, Dr. Kamachi Mudali sir, and Registrar K.K. Nair sir for giving their full support for organizing this event. On behalf of MUN Club of VIT Bhopal University, I would like to place my special thank to Honorable Chief Guest Mr. Surendra Singh, former Director General of Police Bhopal, for kindly accepting our invitation and honoring this function with inspirational thoughts. I would also like to thank Dr. Manas Kumar Mishra, Dean Academics, to readily accepting to deliver welcome address for this event. I am confident that VIT Bhopal University will continue to host such amazing events in the future to benefit the students' fraternity to hone their skills. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you everyone for uh, meeting with us here today. Stuti.
So, as Mahatma Gandhi rightly said, and I quote, be the change you wish to see. On that note, let's begin. Let's officially begin Rajneet 2021. Dear delegates, you will be given your meeting links via your email. Check your emails, and we'll be beginning Rajneet in 15 minutes. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Um, thank you, Chief Guest. I believe um, nobody else would have done so much justice to our topics, and it is an honor listening to you, sir. I mean, while you were speaking, I was just absorbing the knowledge you have, and definitely it speaks. You speak from experience. Thank you so much, sir, for joining our event today. It has been absolute honor here to host you. Thank you, Manas sir, for being here, and definitely Dr. Sarvanan sir, who has been like a backbone for everything. Thank you so much.
We will be like having technical session in the next 15 minutes, I think so. Like you
Yes.
can announce at what time like they have to gather. We can leave. Okay.
Yes. 11:15, we'll be commencing the Rajni as per the itinerary.
Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.